Before we get started, a quick reminder. Unlocked is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider for any health concerns. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and give a thumbs up, and share across all platforms. Unlocked. Mental performance, physical results. I'm Coach Eric. Welcome to Unlock Mental Performance, Physical Results. And today we're going to reset on the reset routine. Why would we reset the reset routine? Well, because last episode I attempted to do an episode on the reset routine, and it's one of those funny things. When you're a mental performance coach, sometimes you're teaching and you're giving a lesson. Sometimes you're living the lesson. And this is one of those times. See, everything, or at least a lot of things, went wrong while I was recording that episode. Some of them were my fault. I wasn't prepared. I forgot to turn off both the sound effects on my computer and my phone. I just was so ready to get going. I jumped into it and didn't go through my pre-show routine. Then I got interrupted. I had people come to the door, wasn't expecting that, and I had to restart a couple times. On top of all of that, it turns out I was having equipment problems. And so the sound was clipped and not quite correct. So it really dragged me late getting going in the show. And what ended up happening is in the middle of recording, my middle school son came home from school. And he came on in, just never in a million years thought I'd still be recording because I know what time he gets home. So he can come in and tell me about his day, right? Whoops, Dad made a mistake. He came in, and so he joined the show. And we didn't really have the mic set up properly, and we took some sound levels real quick. But I was in such a rush to get back to finishing the show before the rest of my family got home that I didn't realize I was having microphone problems, that the levels weren't right, and that the software was cutting out. So on top of my timing being wrong and my technical issues being wrong, I ended up with a final product that wasn't great, but it wasn't awful necessarily. At least for me as an experience, it was a lot of fun. I'd never done a show with my kid before. As a coach, you try not to do too much directly with your own family and your own kids because you want them to experience a lot of this stuff from their coaches. And so I focus my attention obviously on raising my son, but allowing his coaches to be his coaches. And but it was fun. We got to go and do that. And it was choppy. Yeah, the levels were wrong. Yeah, the content went sideways a little bit. But, sometimes that's as good as it's going to get. Sometimes your B or your C game is what you've got that day. And so what I'm doing today is I'm kind of picking myself back off the mat and saying, all right, well, that was good enough, but it didn't really provide my listeners with everything I wanted them to have. And for some listeners, it was probably too difficult to get all the way through it. So knowing that, I'm going to go back and we're going to talk about the reset routine again today. It'll probably be a little bit shorter episode. It'll probably be a little bit cleaner episode. I won't have Lucas to jump in here with us, but we're going to get through some really good, important material because the truth of the matter is, whether you're talking about athletics or you're talking about academics, business, relationships, we're talking about life in general. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and you're going to have moments where you need to be able to step back and reset yourself. And what's fun about mental performance is that it's so applicable across life. We all have these little personal triggers. Some of them are physical. Some of them are the internal emotions. Some of them are external emotions, things that are being cast at us from around the room. And they change in a moment. Our mindset, our resilience, our energy levels. We can actually have these triggers that either boost or destroy our confidence. And that drastically affects our ability to perform in that moment. And that's what the reset routine is really all about. And when you get into the academics of it, you get into the weeds of it, there's a lot that really goes into it. All of these, visualization and anchoring techniques that are associated with resetting. But what it really boils down to is being aware of your mind-body connection and being aware of pattern interruptions, being aware of how taking a moment can really, really help you reset and get back to work. So that's what we're going to talk about here. I think we need a technique. Now, if you listen to this version 1.0, you heard about the big breath, and you heard Lucas screw up big breath. Why? Well, because I've taught him a lot of breathing techniques. I hadn't taught him this one. And I hadn't taught him this one because his personal bad breathing habits involve a very similar routine to the big breath. So we didn't use this one with him. So if this one's not great for you, that's all right. We're only going to do it for another minute or so, and then you can move on and we'll listen to some other stuff. But for those of you who would like to learn this technique, I'm going to go through it real quick here. The big release. It's very similar in the way it starts to most breathing techniques. And that is, you're going to inhale very deeply through your nose. A nice, calm, deep breath. You're going to fill your entire body cavity. You're going to blow up like a balloon. And then you're going to exhale out of your mouth. But unlike in my personal favorite breathing technique, where you're going to slowly release, very controlled, this is the big release. This is the explosive release. So what you're going to do is inhale very, very, very slowly, and then exhale very forcefully. And it can make a guttural sound, a growling sound, a ha sound when you do it. But that is the key, is to go in, and out. So while you're doing this breathing technique, a lot of people are self-conscious about it because that grunt, that tennis player hitting a forehand grunt doesn't appeal to everybody. But it is that willingness to release everything that is in you in this one good exhale that really helps you reset mentally. And that's why I like to put this one here. So good slow breath in, hard forceful breath out, push out all that frustration, all that angst, all that anger, all that failure. Push it out with that breath, with one good huh. And now you're ready to go again. So now that we're back at it, let's talk about the reset routines. And the big thing that we talked about before with this is that there are different kinds of cues. There are verbal cues, there are physical cues. Some of them you're going to hear, some of them you're going to feel, some of them you're going to see. It's all about experience. And what you want to do is identify which one of these are affecting you. And those can be affecting you both positively or negatively, but you need to identify that you've been affected by this cue. So for example, when you're talking about a verbal cue, you hear this all the time. Next play. Why? Because the coach is trying to get the athlete to focus on the present moment and not dwell on the mistake they just made. You'll hear somebody yell out, "I've got this." Why? Because they're trying to build up their personal confidence that they've got this. Maybe they're talking to themselves. Maybe they say it out loud very strongly, but it's one of those affirmations where they're telling themselves, "I am strong. I am capable." And it helps athletes overcome negative thoughts and feelings. And it works in business too. Look, you're getting ready to go to a sales meeting and you're sitting there in your car. Are you going, "Man, there's no way I'm going to get this sale. I'm going to blow it today"? No, that's not what you're doing, because if you're doing that, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're going up to bat, you don't want to go up there going, "Oh man, I hope I don't strike out. I hope I don't strike out. I hope I don't strike out." Because then you're focused on striking out. You take that explosive breath, you get all of that strikeout nonsense out, and you talk to yourself about, "I got this. I know he likes to live outside. I know he likes to throw second pitch breaking balls. I'm going to barrel one up." Now you're taking a much better approach at the plate. No guarantees of success, but you're in a much better position to succeed. Not all the cues are going to be verbal. Maybe it's visual, right? You need to reset, so you're going out to the batter's box and you look out to your coach, third base, and he's giving you your signs. And in there, he gives you that little pump, that little fist bump, that little "I got you" nod. And it releases things and makes you feel better. You look out to the crowd, you see mom and dad holding up the sign with your name on it. right? It gives you a little visual reset. And of course, there's physical cues because our body is so connected to our mind. So maybe in addition to that quick fist pump, maybe you get a little shoulder tap, a little arm around the shoulders. In football, there was always the classic butt slap. Maybe the physical cue is really just something you're doing for yourself. You're taking that good deep breath, doing a quick stretch. Maybe, again, we're going to go back to baseball here. Maybe there's a routine you have when you step into the batter's box. You tap the plate in a certain spot. You hit your cleats. You kind of flex your shoulders back. You nod at the umpire. A routine that helps make you feel comfortable. And when you get out of sorts, when you've swung at a bad pitch and you call time and you step back out and you do that routine again, you physically reset yourself. All of these things are really helpful, and they're not exclusive. Just because it worked when the coach gave you that fist bump doesn't mean that it won't also work when you hear, "You got this." It doesn't mean it won't also work when you hit the bottom of your spikes with your bat to clean the dirt off and roll your shoulders back. There's lots of different things that you can pile them up and stack them up to help make you more effective. But the important thing is to identify them. And not only to identify them from a positive standpoint, but also to identify them from a negative standpoint, because you need to know yourself like that. But when you're trying to create the routine, what you're going to try to do is create the positive routine. Obviously, what you don't want to do is continually make yourself more stressed out. So what you can do to keep it simple is, for starters, keep it simple. It really is important. And I say it twice. I'll say it a third time. Keep it simple. The routine needs to be easy. You have to be able to remember it. You have to be able to execute it. And you have to be able to do that when you're under pressure. You have to be able to do that when it's the hardest to do it, or you're missing out on its biggest benefit. You have to make it specific. It has to be clear. You can't be guessing at what it means. When your coach goes through his signs and then he pumps his fist towards you, you can't be like, "Oh man, does that mean bunt?" You have to know that means, "I got you, dude. You got this. You're going to do this. You got it. You're good. I trust you. I have faith in you. I believe in you." You know that's what that means. So you have to be specific with it. When you go through your routine and you roll your shoulders back, you have to know that that is you releasing the bad and embracing the good. Because if what you really think when you do that is the doom and the gloom, then the specific of it is bad. You want it to be the specific of it that is good. And you have to do this regularly. If it's an audible cue, if it's "you got this," or "next one," or "banana," whatever it is, "potato," doesn't matter. Whatever your verbal cue is, you need to have it be specific, and you have to practice it regularly because it has to be automatic. It has to be absolutely automatic that you know that when you do your routine, that it's positive, that it's going to uplift you, it's going to reset what you're doing. And you have to use it in competition. You have to do it when it matters. It's not good enough to do it at practice. You need to do it at practice. It's not good enough to do it at home. You do need to do it at home. But you also have to do it when you're out there on the court. Free throws are a great example of this in basketball. Basketball teams have these reset routines built into the culture of the sport. Okay, so I'm up there, I'm on the line, and I'm going to do my routine to get me focused on making a free throw. I dribble. I spin the ball. I dribble again. I catch it. I sit into my stance. I look up at the rim. I focus on the back of the rim. I rise up to the top of my toes, and I shoot the ball. And I do that every single time. It gives me the confidence, the consistency to hit that shot. But I don't always hit it. Even great free throw shooters don't always hit it. So if I rim one out, what do my teammates do? Do they shake their head? Do they look at the floor? Do they yell from the bench, "Come on, Batch, you gotta hit that"? No. They step into the paint. They dap me up. They tap me on the back, slap hands. "You got this, brother." And they get back to the key. They line up. The referee throws me the ball. Dribble. Spin. Dribble. Sit in. Top of my toes and shoot. It resets you. It gets you back focused. It gets you ready to go. They build that into the culture. In fact, if you think about in athletics, isn't that what the timeout usually is used for? Sure, a lot of timeouts are used for strategy, but if it was just strategy, you wouldn't see the momentum timeout. And you see that all the time in sports that have timeouts. You see that in sports that don't have timeouts. Think about pitching coaches in baseball. There's no actual timeout in baseball, but they do ask for time so they can walk out to the mound and talk to their pitcher after he's walked to and given up a single. And they may talk strategy, but the biggest thing they're trying to do is reset that player to get them back on task to throw strikes. In basketball, when they call that timeout and they're drawing up the inbounds play, a lot of that is strategy, but a lot of that is just killing the momentum of the other team that puts you in the position where you need to reset and do better because you've already drilled these things. You already know what you have to do on the court. I remember reading a book by a really, really good Division I basketball coach in which he talked about he hated calling timeouts in the last 5 seconds of a game because he knew he had drilled his team and they were ready to perform in those moments, and he trusted them in those moments to play full court basketball and to get that score. And he knew the other team was going to want a timeout so they could set up, so they could reset. And he didn't want to give them the opportunity to reset his own guys. So he blocked the reset by not calling timeout himself, having them play hustle ball and get up the court because the value of the reset was so strong that he didn't want to allow it to happen. And so it's really, really, really important to understand that this isn't just about knowing that when you have a visual cue or a verbal cue that you can reset your body. Isn't important to know that just that you personally can reset yourself. It's important to know that you can reset the people around you for good and for bad. Because the whole point of this task, of this skill, is to step back from the reality you're in and to come back with a new reality. So just like any other skill, you're going to have to practice this. If you're an athlete, do it in practice. Do it while you're training. And then do it in competition. But don't just wait for that big moment to do it. Do it in the little moments. You're going to reset at the foul line in the first 15 seconds of the second quarter the same way you are in the last 15 seconds of the fourth. You are going to need to be able to, as a football player, get into the huddle and get your wide receivers' attention and get them back on task after they've dropped a ball, whether it's the first quarter or the last red zone play of the game. So you need to practice these things in those moments so that in the biggest moments, they're already part of what you're doing. And you need to visualize it. When you're away from the game, you're not away from the ability to practice. You need to be able to sit by yourself, eyes open or closed, your technique of your choice, quiet or loud, your technique of your choice, and visualize yourself in tough moments, in failure moments, and you need to see those cues. You need to hear those cues. You need to feel those cues so you know how to train your body to react. And you need to react within yourself in the way you want yourself to respond when it matters and they're done in live action. And if you've got teammates that you're going through this with, you can role play it. You can act this out. It doesn't even have to be a real teammate. It can be a significant other. It can be a best friend that doesn't play. It can be your mom and dad. But if you act it out and you practice it, in addition to visualizing and practicing it, in addition to doing it in lower competition to be ready for higher competition, you're just adding one more layer of practice. And that's going to help make it more effective because it becomes part of you, becomes who you are. To this day, I don't ride a motorcycle anymore, but to this day, if I see a motorcycle rider going down the road and he sticks his hand out to wave to another rider, I get a little flutter. Why? Because that's what I always did when I rode. And it was just an acknowledgement of, hey, I see you. We have something in common. I support you. And what was great about it is it didn't matter what kind of bike you rode. It didn't matter if you're on a Harley or a crotch rocket. You supported each other in those moments. So this becomes part of you. It becomes who you are, not in the who you are identifying as, but in who you are as far as resetting and being able to get yourself moving forward in a more positive way. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't become somebody who is just instinctually reset the first time somebody daps you up. So you have to be patient. You have to be patient. You have to start small Work on it gradually. Work in more things. Get bigger moments. Get bigger resets. As long as you're consistent with it and you build on it and you make sure that it's personal, that it's something that works for you, this can become part of your skill set. Your ability to step back and go, and be back in the game. Your ability to give a man nod, and you know what I'm talking about, and get your teammate back in the game, right? You're standing there at second base, and you know the guy at the plate is really nervous, and you're getting ready to take your lead off. And you know that he's looking at the coach, and after he's done looking at the coach, he's going to glance over at you. Give him that little nod. Yeah, I got you. I got you. Lift up the people around you. Reset yourself. Reset your teammates. Understand how powerful it is to be able to take yourself out of a moment, to be able to pump your brakes and reboot your system so that you can restart yourself for a better performance and you can restart your teammates for a better performance. So I know I ran through that quick. It was 20 minutes of Coach Eric just going at it, but I felt good about it because for me, the reset routine is so important to the way I personally live my life. I'm constantly looking for ways to get out of those moments where I can feel myself tensing up, where I can feel the blood pressure go up, when I can feel the doom and gloom settling in. Because I know I can't give you my best if I'm not trusting myself, if I'm not lifting up myself, if I'm not ready to perform. How can I expect to help you perform? It's critical. Growth and agility of the mind is critical for athletes. It's critical for humans. Mental strength is not just a fixed trait. It is a skill that can be developed and improved over time. So it is important for you to embrace a growth mindset, to view mental training as an ongoing process. And you have to enjoy the grind. You have to want to turn this process into progress. So keep grinding, keep smiling. I'm Coach Eric, and this has been Unlocked.
Up to the plate, feeling the weight. The crowd's cheering loud, but it's up to fate. Struck out too many times, doubts creeping in, but he knows in his heart it's time to begin. He remembers the lessons, the words that they say. Keep your head up high, don't let fear lead the way. Act, take a swing, let the baton talk. Chest high, walk the walk. Breathe in deep, let the pressure unlock. You are focused, ready to rock. Commit to the moment, let the past fade away. Get back in the game, you're ready to play. The sun's shining bright, he's feeling the heat. With every deep breath, he's back on his feet. Visualizing success, he's got a new plan. With the tools from Play Big, he's a brand new man. He knows it's a journey, not just a quick fix. With patience and practice, he'll find his own mix. Act, take a swing, let the back of the talk. Chest high, walk the walk. Breathe in deep, let the pressure unlock. You are focused, ready to rock. Commit to the moment, let the past fade away. Get back in the game, you're ready to play. Every setback's a lesson, every strike's a chance to rise up stronger, to take a new stance. With the crowd on his side, he's ready to show. With the ABCs in his heart, he's ready to go. Take a swing, let the back of the talk. Chest high, walk the walk. Breathe in deep, let the pressure unlock. You are focused, ready to rock. Commit to the moment, let the past fade away. Get back in the game, you're ready to play. So here's to the slumps, the struggles we face. With courage and commitment, we'll find our own place. Every new inning is a chance to rise. Chase the champion spirit to the skies. Every new inning is a chance to rise.